Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Terminator Resistance. These will be my first impressions of the game, as well as a general introduction for you guys, where I'll hopefully provide you with enough information to decide whether this game is for you and whether you might be interested in something like this or not. So, without any further ado, let's get into it. Terminator Resistance is a FPS RPG. Well, an FPS survival RPG if we're going to cover the entire thing, but essentially the game is at its heart and soul primarily an FPS, with quite a few elements of exploration, crafting, survival, and so on and so forth, but, you know, again, heart and soul, it's an FPS. So, is it any good at that, you know, core gameplay basis, foundation, if you will? And yes, I would say that it is. It is pretty darn decent. The guns feel quite alright, the enemies are, well, it's Terminator, and I think they've nailed the enemies. They're tough, they're obviously metallic, but, you know, as stupid as it sounds, hear me out, the way they respond to getting shot at is quite, I don't want to say realistic, but quite Terminator-esque, right? So they've nailed the entire aesthetic when it comes to that. And the gameplay itself of running around shooting stuff is pretty darn decent as well. However, there are a few problems, but I would like to say that on the whole, the game has quite a bit of content to it. It has multiple choices that you can take, and those choices really do matter most of the time. Obviously, you're gonna need to do like multiple playthroughs to figure out which choice does what and exactly how much it matters, but essentially, most of the choices really do matter. So what I mean by that is I had the option to save some civilians or not save them, and, you know, I imagine not saving them would probably result in some different quest being added or not being added, and so on and so forth. A man came by earlier. Okay, sorry. Anyways, so yeah, the exploration in the game is also alright. It's not great, but it's alright. The game isn't open world by any means, but it does remind me, with all of its, I want to say like mixing of genres, but it's not really mixing of genres too much, but, you know, let's use that phrase for now, with the mixing of genres that it does. The game reminds me quite a bit of Metro. For you see, in Metro you could just play the game as a linear FPS going from quest to quest, but not really. You had to explore the maps, different maps that you would go to were open world, and yeah, overall, the game had quite a bit of content to it, and so does this. However, there are a few problems, like I mentioned. First of all, the AI, and sticking with the sort of, let's say, core of the game, the FPS aspect of it. The AI is not very good. Sometimes you're not going to notice it, sometimes they'll behave like Terminators, and I don't expect Terminators to behave like human beings, right? I don't expect them to get suppressed when I put a stream of bullets down the line, or seek cover immediately. They're meant to sort of be a bit lethargic, a bit cold, a bit alien, if you will, from how you'd expect human beings to react when under fire, but that's not what I mean. The pathfinding of the AI is pretty terrible, and, you know, that's something a Terminator should do relatively well at, right? For example, in the very beginning of the game, there is a supposedly slightly more difficult Terminator that you need to kill. It's not a T-800 or a T-1000 model or anything like that, no, it's just a scout, but it's armored. Anyways, you're supposed to kill it, and it has, like, these machine guns or whatever, or Uzis or something that it can shoot you with, and they do a decent bit of damage, has great rate of fire. It's pretty damn accurate as well. So it's not really a boss fight, because you fight multiple of the things throughout the beginning of the game. But yeah, it's sort of like a, you know, whoa kind of moment where it's the first time you encounter something like that. So, you know, you'd expect it to be competent, at least somewhat. Yeah, sure it is. No, not really. It's not really competent, is the problem. It got stuck behind a bus or something, or like a piece of debris, I don't remember exactly. And yeah, it was kind of terrible. Speaking of, this is the map. It's not small, but it's not particularly large as well. Multiple approaches to different things, but as you can see, it's mostly corridors. So it's not bad, but it's not something to gloat over as well. Obviously, you do get like open areas like this every now and again too, but I then come in with the second biggest criticism of the game: wall hacks. Now, I know that this is lore-friendly, and that it's very useful if you want to play the game like a stealth game, and you can absolutely do that. You can go around sneaking, and it is kind of interesting because the Terminators sort of have this ability as well, in that, you see, that thing can now see me, and I just shot it, and nobody around seems to have noticed the M16 going off. Yeah. You see what I mean? The game does something phenomenal, or something pretty good, and then it does like another thing that's meh at the back of it. Yeah. Now, I understand that these war hacks are needed to sort of level the playing field with the Terminators, because they have all sorts of sensors and whatnot, and being in proximity of them is enough to get you detected, though oddly enough the scout drones seem to be the blindest thing here. But anyways, you know, be that as it may, stealth, not the greatest bit of the game, but you can obviously just choose to ignore stealth and play it however the hell you want. So, without lingering too much on that particular, how do we call it, unfortunate feature of the game, let's move on to something else. This, again, it sort of ruins the game a little bit. Now, obviously you can choose to not use it, fair enough, but the game sort of makes a point of you using it, and it's also kind of necessary due to the way the Terminator detection system works, and at the end of the day, hell, you're given the power of wall hacks, it's kind of tempting to you know, it's kind of difficult to not use it, but the game creates a great atmosphere. Visually, the game's, well, from a graphical fidelity standpoint, it's not terrific, but it creates a good atmosphere. Matter of fact, it creates a great atmosphere. Everything, you know, everything around you is decrepit, is fallen apart, abandoned, rusted, so on and so forth. Very apocalyptic, you know, as it should be. But the issue therein being, let's completely threw that out of there. Okay, throw it there, and yeah, it still hasn't detected me. I threw a grenade at it, and it still hadn't detected me. I don't know. You know, stealth? No, just don't. You're much better off not even trying it. Anyways, your lockpicking level is too low. No, it's not. I lockpicked. I had lockpicking already. You chose to not give it me. No free skill points. Okay. Sure. Whatever, let's open it. Oh, it's the same system of lockpicking as Fallout New Vegas, by the way. I gotta give it points for that. I really do. I like that. Like, I don't like minigames in general all that much, but the New Vegas lockpicking system, I think, was pretty damn good. It felt kind of rewarding, wasn't too frustrating, it was an okay minigame. Anyways, it creates a great atmosphere, and then also, the Terminators are kind of scary. Not that you can tell from the nonchalant way I just took out a few of them, but later down the line as well, and by the way, this is very early on in the game, it's like the first mission that you get, the first sort of area you get to explore. Like I said, early on in the game, it's not much of an issue, but later down the line, you get more advanced Terminators to fight, and it doesn't become, you know, it gets a little bit tense and a little bit scary at times. And the opening of the game actually showcases this quite a lot. you're afraid of the T-800s, as you rightly should be. They're a bastard to take out, and they're pretty damn effective killing machines. I mean, they've brought about the end of humanity. Okay, not that much. It's more nuclear weapons did that a heck of a lot better than they did. But, you know, other than the nuclear weapons, the second thing to bring about the end of humanity was those things. And you feel that, you know, until the game introduces war hacks. And then it then becomes a bit of a puzzle, and all of the tension and the horror and the sort of, how do I put this, the scary elements, I suppose, can't find a better word for it, are taken away. Reason being, I would be afraid to go into this building, because who knows what's behind this door, or what's behind this door, but I just click this and now I know that there is nothing around me other than that thing, but it's on the street. You know? Yeah. It ruins that. I don't know if later in the game a enemy type is introduced that is immune to this, that you can't see,
It's coming from there.
but I don't think so. Maybe, but even then, by that point, it would be too late, sort of. Oh, look at that, it's dog meat.
I know a kid that'll take care of you.
I think it does the exact same animation as well, sort of.
Hey, fuck
Well,
it.
sort
The
of, with
radio's
the
on.
facial expression
Was
of the
I
dog and
supposed to
everything.
do that? Fucking creep.
Yeah. I don't know. There's a decent bit of content here. There's a decent bit of things for you to play around with, to, you know, explore, fight enemies. World seems pretty well built. There's some nice visages. I wish the game was a little bit prettier from a graphical fidelity standpoint. It doesn't quite look like a 2019 game. But it's alright. Actually, end of the year, it's almost 2020 now. And it's a lot more stylish to say it doesn't look like a 2020 game. Anyways, be that as it may, alright, that'll do, right? Yeah, that'll do. Good. That's the armored spider I talked about at the beginning, though. Quite neat of him to appear before us like so. Anyways, is there anything else that's damning to the game? No, not really. The choices that you make tend to really matter. Obviously, you're going to need to do multiple playthroughs to double-check everyone, or every single choice, and to confirm what I'm saying and whatnot, and I haven't gotten the chance to finish the game once. I'm actually nowhere near it, let alone anything else, but the choices really do seem to matter, in that if you pick one dialogue option over the other, you might not get a quest, or you might get a quest, or you might save someone, you might, and you know, your choice might end up getting someone murdered, and so on and so forth. So realistically, the range on the shotgun isn't terrible. I always look for stuff like that in video games. Usually, shotguns have no range whatsoever. Oh. Been detected, have I? Yeah, you see that? What the hell is it doing? Like, seriously? What the hell is it doing? Yeah. But other than you know, bits of the AI freaking out like that, the game does genuinely seem to be pretty good. Let's open this up. And what adds quite a bit to the, well, first of all, to the challenge of the game, and by the way, I'm playing on hard difficulty, not very hard. I tend to play most of my games on very hard difficulty. Well, it's true and it's not. A decent bit of the games that I play, I tend to, even on my first playthrough, play it on very hard, or the highest difficulty nowadays. It's why I am a sadomasochist, apparently. I don't know. Personal preference, right? But I choose to play this one on hard to sort of get through the game a little bit quicker and sort of, I guess, aim for a middle ground when it comes to difficulty and challenge. The player is quite squishy. That is, you are quite squishy. Terminators, being robots, obviously can take a fair amount of punishment, especially later in the game. These guys are fairly easy to deal with. You know, you have an assault rifle, down the range, and they're gone. But other, like the T-800s later, or, you know, there's quite a variety of enemies that you face, actually.
Usually destroy them
they're a
on
lot
sight.
more difficult to get rid of, and they're a lot more challenging. Unlike you, it doesn't take a lot for you to go down, but it's not only that. Health doesn't regenerate. Yup, it doesn't regenerate. I think it might regenerate a little bit if you get, like, can we... Oh. Okay. Didn't see you there. Sorry, more over there, apparently. Let's get the, Oh, I don't have a lot of ammo for this. I think I'm gonna get this out, because, it's not a very good weapon. Anyways, let's go through this area without the wall hacks, and I'll show you just what I mean. If I get hit, I need to use a medkit to heal my wounds. Currently, I have quite a few of the little things, but I imagine if I get in an uncomfortable situation, and I'm not careful and I need to use a few of them, they might become a pretty darn finite resource, right? See? Little bit more interesting than knowing exactly where they are, but even then, you notice the top corner of the screen? There's a mini-map. And the mini-map shows you where enemies that have detected you are at all times. Yeah. You see the problem? There's potential for this game to be very tense, for this game to be, you know, especially on, like, Legendary or very hard, to have you at the edge of your seat going, ooh, is there a Terminator around the corner? Ooh, do I really dare open this door? And to sort of be very tense in general. Alternatively, what it chose to do is this. How did I not see that thing? Crying out loud. Yeah. Oh, and you can just hide here and the detection bar will go away and you can shoot at it again. And I'm assuming it's just gonna move along with its life. Probably. Okay, that was a little bit stupid. Let's try and get an angle on it from here. Oh, it moves quite a bit. Yeah, there you go. And then through this end. Come on. And there we go. Again, you see, it's not very easy. Obviously, I'm doing this trying to not get hit at all, because I'd much rather have, much rather spend ammo and grenades and stuff like that rather than medkits. I think it's a sensible strategy to have towards life in general. But anyways, jokes aside, it has this potential for being tense and for being, you know, all those good things, and it sort of squanders it a little bit by giving you too much information. And no option to change the HUD. You can't turn off the minimap, you can't turn off... Hell, you can't change the FOV sliders, and, you know, that's a problem in and of itself. Worthy of ranting on about for hours on end to begin with, but hey, let's leave that aside for now. Yeah. So, ultimately, all things taken into consideration, would I recommend the game? It's difficult to recommend it at its current price. It really is, personally. Now, it's a game that has mostly positive reviews, actually very positive, I think like 89, 88% on Steam. Positive reviews right now, so maybe I'm just being overly picky, maybe I'm just being the idiot, and maybe you should go and play this game immediately, maybe I'm just, you know, overly cynical at my old age of 20-something, I'm joking. But I do think that it's not, that it is very much worth considering that the game does have some serious problems with the AI, has some serious problems with the options menu not having certain things, the sort of bullshit nature behind these goggles, and the writing. Oh god, the writing. So, the weakest part of the game so far for me has also happily been the least important one. Dialogue. This is... how should I put this? Well, it didn't... bad dialogue didn't stop RPGs from being good in the past. Look at Fallout 4, for example. If you just take a look at dialogue and writing in Fallout 4, you're going to find that it's horrible. Trust me, you will. The dialogue in Fallout 4 is god-awful. Compare it to a second to New Vegas or something along those lines, it's just a travesty. However, it's still a decent RPG. Is it better than New Vegas? Is it better than Fallout 3? I don't think so. I genuinely don't. I'd much rather play those games than Fallout 4 nowadays. But, be that as it may... Oh, do I need a grenade to get through this? Probably. Alright. Let's go and find a grenade then. Like I said, be that as it may, the writing is less important in this game, because it usually is there to convey that, oi, there's a quest, if you want to take it, and if you don't, you know, too bad, so sad. That's it. Again, luckily. It could have been a lot worse, it could have been a more story-driven game, and that would have been a problem. Oh. Yeah. You see what I mean? It's not the greatest AI ever created. Oh well. It's not a bad game, though. It's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. I've been a bit overly critical of it, because I have a lot of things to say and a lot of things I've noticed. But the AI is... No, sorry, again, the AI, because I'm fighting the Terminators is what I'm thinking about that. The writing is pretty god-awful at times. You're supposed to be, I don't know, like, emotional, or you're supposed to feel something towards those characters, and in reality you feel nothing, or they annoy you. Also, the things you say, they might sound one way in your head, and you might expect one sort of reaction, and then in the end, the reaction is like 2 words, and it's like, alright. I think the start of the game, again, is really representative. There's a kid, you need to convince him to stop moving because he's terrified. You can be all emotional and you know, feel for him and stuff like that, or you can be like, kid, quit crying, get a move on. The response you get is pretty similar either way. He just says okay and starts walking with you.
You alive or dead in there?
Alive.
It's not terrific, okay? It really is not terrific, but then again, depends on how and where you set your expectations, so might be completely completely alright and expected, might be a deal breaker for you. Obviously it comes down to personal choice. Honestly, like I said, it's probably the least important bit of the game, because most of the time you're not talking to anyone, thankfully. You're doing this most of the time, looting and shooting. So, yeah. All of those things considered, would I recommend the game now that I think I've mentioned pretty much everything I want to talk about? On sale. I think a sort of final verdict, if you will, for the game is pick it up if it's on sale. If it gets some substantial updates to the AI or to the, I don't know, like more content and stuff like that, then yeah, I would recommend it then too, but with AI like this, I can't recommend it fully. I really cannot. Sorry. Alright, that'll be about it. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Like, subscribe down below if you enjoyed the video and want to stay tuned with the rest of the content that I produce on the channel. Currently, we have a Abandoned Ship playthrough running, as well as the Outer Worlds. Well, let's be honest, a little bit better game than this. I have to give it that. A RPG from the developers of New Vegas. If you want to check that out, go on ahead, and if not, I hope you found this video useful. I hope you learned something. Have fun, take care, and bye-bye. Oh, and the game has no multiplayer either. I think it would be really cool if they implemented multiplayer where one team is even like what's it called? Oh god, I can't remember the word. Multiplayer where both teams aren't equal. The word escapes me completely right now. But anyways, where one team is the Terminators and the other team is the Survivors, and they're not like the same. Their play styles differ quite a bit. I think that'd be quite fun. But so far no more.